Hello, welcome back to X-Men Classics, episode number 13. And in this episode, I'm going over issues 22 and 23 of X-Men. And in first up in issue 22, part 1 of another two-parter, the X-Men take on a group of Iron Man villains. I am not kidding about this. Regular, if you're watching this, yeah, the X-Men take on some 4 very obscure villains. They take on Count Nefaria. Well, Plant Man is not an Iron Man villain, but he has fought Iron Man in the past. But the other 3 are. The other 4 are. The other guys are Iron Man villains. You have Unicorn, Eel, Porcupine, and Scarecrow. Now, most of these guys are, in fact, Iron Man villains, including Count Nefaria. Plant Man is not. Plant Man was actually original enemy of the Human Torch. Yeah, Plant Man is one of those villains who very rarely shows up in the comics. And this is the first time since his day appearance in the pages of Strange Tales he's shown up. For Unicorn, Scarecrow, and Porcupine, they're regular Iron Man villains, but they're C-listers. Eel, interesting thing about this particular Eel character. This particular Eel is the original Eel. Why would I say the original? Because he was actually later killed in the pages of Ghost Rider by the Scourge of the Underworld, and then his brother took over for him. Yeah, it's weird. So basically, Roy Thomas dug up some Iron Man villains because for some reason, maybe he maybe Stan Lee put like a ban on the X-Men villains, because after the opening two-parter, there is no regular X-Men villains that he could use for the first year of his run after the opening two-parter. So the issue opens up with them staring at like a new robot for their training exercises that they do. And they defeat it within a few pages. And then they decided to go on another vacation because this time for 2 weeks because it got interrupted previously in issue 19. So everyone goes off to where they wanted to go. And then Count Nefaria basically says, "At last, it is in readiness. I, Count Nefaria, am prepared to strike." And then Stan says, "It's about time too. He's been out of circulation since Tales of Suspense of 16. So it's been a little while since anybody's seen this character." Now, interesting fact about Count Nefaria. He is the father of Madame Mask, aka Whitney Frost. This is him showing up the first time in the book. So he decides to recruit some villains to work with him to take down the X-Men. Or at least try to convince them. So Hangman makes a fool of himself later on. And then Jean goes to Central Park and she runs into the Plant Man. Yes, she runs into Plant Man. I am not kidding about this. He says last time he showed up, and it says right here according to Stan Lee, last time he showed up was in Strange Tales number 121. Yeah. Of course, there's actually a joke in here about the villains later on. Then Cyclops just goes to his investigation, runs into Angel. And then Angel runs into the Scarecrow. Yeah, he runs to the Scarecrow, and it says last time I ever saw him was in Tales of Suspense 51, which is one issue after the debut of the Mandarin. And of course, Scarecrow captures him for the Madja. I think that's how you pronounce him. Then Beast goes out to figure out what's going on. And he runs into frickin' Porcupine. Yes, he runs into the Porcupine. Like, okay, then he attacks him. And then they take him hostage. Okay, fine. The Iceman goes out to figure out what the heck is going on. And then he runs into the Eel. Another guy who originally fought the Human Torch. Yeah. And the last time, and they mentioned it, like his first opponent was his stage appearance, which was in Strange Tales 117. So they take him on, Cyclops shows up, and they take him on, and all of a sudden, they turn around, and then the Unicorn shows up. I'm like, sweet Jesus. I'm sure some of you are like, what the heck? The Unicorn? It says, and San Diego Candy Unicorn, it says, and Cyclops says, this must be homecoming for obscure villains because we've never heard of you. But if it's a fight you want, I'm in the mood. And it's like, X-Men is like, Let's get him sick. And it's just so fun. The whole thing with the obscure villains in the case of Unicorn. I would say, yeah, he's kind of like a lot of these villains are kind of obscure. But it's interesting that the Roy Thomas, he must have dug these guys up somewhere. Like, I want to use these guys. I'm sure his probably like his probably before I continue, I want to do like a little play. What Roy Thomas and Stan Lee probably up to is like Roy, you can't use any the X-Men villains for a whole year, okay? You did a good job bringing those characters, but we want to introduce more characters. He's like, okay, can I use these C-listers I have listed up here? It's like, okay, fine, go ahead. That's what I think that probably happened back in the '60s when Roy Thomas probably proposed this story to Stan Lee. It's like, well, we can't use the X-Men villains. Can we use these villains who are nobody's using these villains? Like, okay, fine. Yeah. And they fight them, and as they take all the X-Men hostage, they take them to the ship, and these 5 villains are in fact his lieutenant. So basically, you have in this one panel you have 4 Iron Man villains, 4 Army villains, and 2 Human Torch villains in the form of Plant Man and Eel. And Unicorn, Porcupine, Scarecrow, and Captain LaFarty are definitely Iron Man villains. So, yeah. So, then somehow they convince the X-Men to work with them, to sort of blackmail them, to basically take the Capitol hostage. And then the issue ends basically going straight to Washington, D.C. And here's the cover for issue 23. Nice looking cover with them fighting each other on the steps of the Cap building. And the issue was up like not long after issue 22 leaves off, and they have to go to Washington D.C. to get some money for him, and he sort of blackmails them to give them like $100 million, and everybody's trying to get in. And then here's something you should know: the General appears in this issue. The last time he showed up was way back in issue 17, so it's been a few issues since people see him. I mean, there's a reference in here later on, basically, about when they took on the Sentinels. So, General Frederick's the guy named. Basically, he thinks that the X-Men turned bad, so he asked him to come in, and of course, the X-Men get free from their bonds, and okay, and they work with him. And they're bluffing. They work with them like they're playing at them. So the Iron Man villain, the C-list villain, just go out and just do whatever they want. And like the General, like if you ever try to tell the General that the X-Men are being framed, he doesn't immediately believe them. He says, gives him a chance to think. And he finds out where Captain LaFarty is, and they take the money. X-Men take the money, and of course everybody starts attacking the X-Men, and the villains start attacking the civilians, and then then the X-Men are attacking the villains again. Everybody starts fighting over this briefcase, and then Unicorn takes off with it, and of course, he was disappointed in him, so he says, "You don't need services any longer." He says, "You go," and he goes to his room, and of course, the X-Men had to fight the army and the villains at the same time. And like, and of course, the suspicious-looking guy in a coat. I'll review who it is in a couple minutes. Who he really is. They bring back the briefcase, and everybody just walks off and tells him to go ship and stop him. And it turns out the guy in cloak is really just Xavier, and he's using braces, lightweight, flexible metal braces that allows him to walk. And he decides to light up a pipe. And of course, Captain LaFarty thinks he has the money, and money just disappears, and they just The issue ends kind of a somber note when Jean opens up a letter, says they has to go to, says something wrong, says, Professor, it is something I can hide for it's something I can't hide for long. Something I must do. Tomorrow I must leave the X-Men forever. And of course, says Teen Belt. Basically, it gets sort of the ending issue basically gives sort of a sneak preview of the next issue's villain, which is called a Locust. But yeah, otherwise though, that ends that particular two-parter. I mean, still another really good two-parter to start to basically for Roy Thomas. These two issues really good. The only thing really new for these particular issues as part of progression is that they fight villains who are not part of the Rogues Gallery. Be fighting Count of Fardia, Porcupine, Eel, Unicorn, and Plant Man. Fighting some obscure villains, at least four of them are in fact, four of these six villains are in fact Iron Man villains, and two of them are Human Torch villains. The two Human Torch villains are Eel and Plant Man. The other four Iron Man villains. But this was kind of a weird two-parter, but it's kind of like a big, it's like there's a lot of action that happens in these past couple issues, in these particular two issues. A lot more than the previous two, but still good two-parter. But it was weird so Roy Thomas starts out bringing back three villains no one has seen in a year, and then he brings in a bunch of obscure villains. Well, probably not obscure, probably because some people have seen them. And some of these characters, some people probably not seen them in probably a couple of years or more, but yeah. This one, I would say this one is not, let's say, I would say it's still a good two-parter. It's just a weird one, too. I mean, come on. Iron Man and Human Torch villains? Really? I mean, it's like, what's next? So they can bring in the Mandarin? Really? Yeah, it's kind of a weird two-parter. I mean, the first one was not weird. The first one was awesome. This one I thought was a little bit weird. Yeah. But despite that, two really good issues. So I'm giving these two issues an 8.5 out of 10, both. So that's it for this one. Stay tuned when I get a chance to do episode 14 of the series. And I'm sure I'm probably going to next episode, so I'm going to do issue 24, definitely. But despite that, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for that episode 14. And I'm probably going to do issue 24. And so until then, see you there. Bye.